everybody, yes, how are you all doing? It is the Fredders93 here, and welcome to another edition of Football with Fredders, the weekly Wednesday football chat show, where we take a look over the course of the week. There's been no domestic league football going on this past week, because there has been an international break. Now, with everything that's been going on this year, and particularly over the last month or so, where some countries have had to go into a second lockdown, the question that I would like to ask is, why on earth have some of these international games been allowed to sort of carry on, continuing in the first place? The European qualifiers, fair enough. I believe there's been African Cup of Nations qualifiers. Fair enough. If the games that have been taking place in the Americas have been for like the Copa America and things like that, fair enough. However, the UEFA Nations League, which seems to have about as much of an appeal as an episode of Love Island, and the international friendlies, why? Why have they been allowed to go ahead? The UEFA Nations League, as I mentioned before about likening the appeal to an episode of Love Island, no one really cares about it. No one seems to really know why the UEFA Nations League is a thing in the first place. Like, surely the smartest bit would have been thinking towards putting some qualifiers together, because believe it or not, there is supposed to be a World Cup in 2022. Believe it or not. But then some of the friendlies, like, why have they happened? Like England's one in particular against Ireland. New Zealand cancelled them. Basically said they weren't going to come over for that friendly, because it was supposed to have been England versus New Zealand, but because of the restrictions, like in terms of like travel being put in place, that didn't happen. So instead of the FA just being like, okay, so this game is no longer happening, just give the lads a bit of a rest, a bit of a train, because these guys haven't had a proper pre-season rest. Like, this season started so quickly after last season, which I think is why there's been a lot more injuries, in particular with the Premier League. I will focus on that next week, because this week's on international friendlies. So instead of doing that, whose bright idea was it at the FA to think, oh shit, we've got a gap in this friendly, we need to fill it. What are the Irish doing? Let's get a friendly against Ireland. Why? Just think sensibly and logically with this, because with these international games, you've got players from all sorts of different teams from different countries, travelling around Europe and the world, and getting together. So if any cases gone down, and believe me, there's apparently been quite a few cases in teams, so it's like, that's going to affect teams, that's going to affect nations, it's going to affect all sorts of things. This international break should not have happened in the first place. But I mean, you take a look at some of the higher profile positive tests. You've got Alan Brown of the Republic of Ireland, who tested positive after having played 90 minutes against England. You've got Mo Salah having testing positive. You've got the Croatian defender who had to be substituted at half time because his test came back positive. You've got Mohamed Al Nini, who's apparently now self-isolating in Egypt because he had received a positive test. Like, this is ridiculous, and like, this international break completely was not necessary. Again, apart from any of the games that were qualifiers for international competitions. So on that note, congratulations to Scotland, and commiserations for Northern Ireland from the home nations from their results in the UEFA 2020 qualifications. Then the UEFA Nations League as well. Iceland there was doubt of the England-Iceland game going on because of travel restrictions which had just come in for involving Iceland and Denmark. And at one point, the Danes, like anyone that had been called up for the Icelandic team, the Danish team, and the Swedish team, the Premier League were basically advising the clubs, anyone that's been called up by those three, do not send them. But then all of a sudden, a exemption travel corridor for the Icelandic football team gets granted by the government, just so that they can then come across from having played in Denmark, where apparently there's now a whole new strand of this virus which can be transferred from minks to humans. Because this year has been so bad enough with the initial virus that news of another strand is exactly what we want to hear. No, it's not. So I think that the main question is maybe, I mean, some of these friendlies, no one really could have cared about. Could we really could have care about like any small friendlies for like San Marino or anyone like that? But yeah, that's just my rant over about the international break and why it's going to happen in the first place. We go back to the leagues this weekend, and I'm absolutely loving Newcastle's first game back, even though it's at home. It's against Chelsea. Of course it is. So for next week, we'll take a look at more things with the Premier League and also a look at that Newcastle Chelsea game, because I will not be alone next week. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to be alone for next week's Football with Redders. That's all I'm going to say. So yeah, stay tuned with this channel. Please do leave a like, subscribe if you're new, follow the social medias, and I and my special guest will see you on Football with Redders next week, and we'll see you in another video very soon. Take care. Bye bye for now.